Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. Day, the Kansas City Chiefs went on an absolute bender, signing defensive talent, and there were mainly defensive linemen in that talent haul, but there was a lone defensive back, and he is a Spagnuolo, Brett Veach type of defensive back. Jammie Robinson, the strong safety out of Florida State in the 2023 NFL draft class, was a draft pick. So this is a player that has some talent. This is a player who was brought in to do things and just kind of never lived up to it with his first two teams. So who is Jammie Robinson? Well, he has a 5.97 RAS score, and we're going to be comparing him to another Chiefs player, though the agility tests are not available for Robinson. He did not do those. Would have been interesting to see how he scored there, but 5'10 and a half, 191 pounds, undersized at the position, 23 bench press reps, though. That is a score of 9.48 out of 10. A lot of bench press reps for Robinson. May have kind of saved his RAS score there because the vert is just 33 and a half inches. That scores a 4.5 out of 10. The broad jump, just 9 foot 8 inches, a score of just 3.69. Had a bad 40, but not a catastrophic 40, a 4.59 40-yard dash, but he did have a 1.51 10-yard split. That is how you would measure a player getting around the line of scrimmage. Maybe not the deep speed here, 4.59, but the speed to go forward, and that is what you will be seeing from Jammie Robinson if he steps onto the field for the Kansas City Chiefs playing defense. This is an aggressive player. So if you're Jammie Robinson, you're coming to the Kansas City Chiefs, the one player you would have your eyes on from the practice squad would be Christian Roland Wallace, someone who scored a 5.01 RAS, so you have him beat by nearly a point of overall athleticism, but Roland Wallace is 5'11 and a half, an inch taller, 201 pounds, 10 pounds heavier, and did just 17 reps, which is still a great number for a safety. Now, his numbers are measured against cornerbacks, so a little bit different there. 37 and a half inch vert, 9 foot 11 inch broad jump. So he has the edge in both of the explosion drills over Robinson. But this 4.63 40-yard dash and 1.6 10-yard split compared to a 4.59 40-yard dash, 1.51 10-yard split. Robinson is a faster player. Now, the misnomer here with Christian Roland Wallace is he's graded against corners. He is a quote-unquote defensive back for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be playing, I think, more safety this year. In fact, I think that's where the Chiefs have him listed, is at safety, at least post-cutdown day. And that's probably where you will see Robinson listed, is at defensive back, safety. He is the defensive back type guy that the Kansas City Chiefs seem to be collecting at this point. So this is what Christian Roland Wallace, who is a little bit less of an athlete but has a few more tools than Robinson was able to do in his rookie season. He played 194 defensive reps, did Christian Roland Wallace, for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2024 season. He played 249 special teams reps. This is a special teams guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. He racked up 34 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, 1 pass deflection, 1 forced fumble. That is the kind of production you would hope for Jammie Robinson if he finds himself on the Chiefs roster. That 194 reps was exceptional for a UDFA on a third consecutive Super Bowl team. Now, what has Robinson done in the NFL? In December of 2024, he was waived by the team that drafted him, the Panthers. He was claimed 3 days later by the Cardinals. And then in August of 2025, just recently, he was released by the Cardinals. In college, this is who Robinson was. So you're looking at a guy who had a standout second sophomore season. He was there for the 2020 years in college, so that granted him an extra year of eligibility. Racked up 181 solo tackles in college, 319 total tackles in college, 16 tackles for loss from the strong safety position, an aggressive player, 7 interceptions during his time in college, but he had that one standout season in 2021 where he had 4 interceptions, racking up 77 yards along the way, but he did also rack up 16 pass deflections. This is a guy who was very active. This is a guy who was all over the field. This is a guy who plays very aggressively across both South Carolina in the SEC and then at Florida State. So even has a sack to his name his final season in college. He is going to be in the same, so he's been in the NFL for 2 years, but he is the same age as Christian Roland Wallace. He will be 24 this season, just like Christian Roland Wallace. This is what he has done in the NFL thus far. Played in 2 games as a rookie, started 2 games as a rookie, played in 15, has played in 21 games during his time in the NFL, racking up 20 tackles along the way, 13 of those solo tackles. So he is active. He is after the ball. You see, he had 64 defensive reps as a rookie, 11 defensive reps last year. But Christian Roland Wallace, remember, played those 249 special teams snaps for the Chiefs last year. In his rookie season, he played 269 special teams reps. Very nice. And then 97 reps of special teams action last year. From Panthers Wire, an article titled "Panthers Part Ways with Another 2023 Draft Pick" by Anthony Rizzuti. Now, it's listed as USA Today as well, but I got it from the Panthers Wire site. The Carolina Panthers have parted ways with another of last year's draft picks. As announced by the team on Friday afternoon, second-year safety Jammie Robinson has been waived. Robinson was selected by the Panthers in the 5th round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Robinson played in 15 games with a pair of starts during his rookie campaign. Those outings saw him record 17 tackles with 269 of his 333 total snaps, 70.1% coming on special teams. 2024 has been similar for Robinson in terms of his deployment. He's appeared in just 6 games and chalked up 97 of his 108 snaps as a special teamer. But it was not always that he was destined for special teams action. That's not what you see drafted in the 5th round. Prospect grade from NFL.com coming into the NFL, 6.11, which is good backup with the potential to develop into a starter. Now, I don't necessarily know that I see a starting level of talent from Robinson. I think that his tools are maybe not up to snuff for someone who will be a starter in the NFL, but I think that he can get on the field. I think that he is the type of player that plays defensive back for the Kansas City Chiefs, not corner, not safety, but one of these roving sort of mysterious players listed as defensive backs by Steve Spagnuolo. Pardon me. His analysis from Lance Zierlein had him projected as a 4th-round draft pick with a comparison to Demarius Randall, saying short-armed, we didn't get to that, did we? Short-armed, sub-30 arms, short-armed defensive back with good toughness, a compact frame, and the versatility for consideration at nickelback or safety. He thrives when playing downhill, very aggressive. I keep saying it, but he is very aggressive, where anticipation and burst provide quick closure to make plays on the throw. He's also a very smart guy. He's able to diagnose plays as they are developing rather than once they have developed, and that allows him to sort of make up for some of that speed differential. He has twitchy feet to match up from the slot, but tends to stay behind if he falls behind in the route. He's a run supporter with a nose for the ball, but average stopping power. Robinson lacks average stopping power, but above average stopping willingness. He will lay a hit. Robinson lacks ideal measurables, but was unimpressive in the scouting combine athletic testing. But he's a feisty defender whose success could be determined by how a team decides to deploy him. He will be one of these defensive backs. He could be a special teamer for the Chiefs this year. It just depends on how things go, right? So he will start off on the practice squad for the Chiefs. Now, what are we looking at with Robinson overall? He hits above his weight class. Now, below average stopping power as touted by Lance Zierlein. Probably that's true, but he hits. He does not care about stopping. He wants to tattoo someone, and he does that fairly often, or he did at the college level. And it seemed to be indiscriminate of the opposing player's size. He just comes in with everything he has and tries to put it on the line. This is a player that the football guys, quote unquote, seem to love, and that is because of his aggressiveness. That is because he is able to diagnose plays. That is because he is able to get out in front of plays. And he's not someone that I think is going to be fooled very often, right? So one of his plays in college, he had an interception off of a flea flicker. Now, why teams keep running the flea flicker, I have no idea. I haven't seen one work in ages, but they do, and it's supposed to draw the defensive backs up. It's supposed to confuse the linebackers. He had an interception off of one of these, which meant that not only from the safety position, which meant that not only was he not fooled, but he was able to diagnose the primary target of that quarterback before before the ball left the quarterback's hands. He is very aggressive again, and the instincts can overcome some of the speed issues. He does have that lack of speed, but it is not the end of the world for Robinson. We saw that he was faster than Christian Roland Wallace, and Christian Roland Wallace had a lot of defensive snaps for the Chiefs last year. The 17-game schedule is long. The 17-game schedule is grueling, and having a player around like this that you can put on the field and not have to particularly worry is a strong suit for someone on the bottom edge of the roster. He does love to punch the peanut. He's going to come in looking to strip the ball. Now, that might not always work on defense, right? But I never noticed him suffer from it, right? He never went for the ball as opposed to the tackle. He would go for the ball once a player was stood up. He would go for the tackle first, and then once it seemed that forward progress was halted, let's try to get a turnover. Where that could be particularly profitable for the Kansas City Chiefs is on special teams. You see it all the time on special teams because it is not a standard football play. There is a lot of action, a lot of places on special teams, so you are not ready for some of those hits that come. Players get stood up a lot on special teams running into the back of a blocker, especially with the new kickoff format. Everything is compact, everything is right there. And the way that the kickoff seems to work now is that there's much more swarming than there used to be. It used to be that on special teams you were counted on to make a solo tackle a lot of the time. It's not quite that way anymore, and by design by the NFL because of all of the concussion issues. But what I think, I don't have any particular numbers for this, I don't have any studies on this, but it seems we're seeing a lot more fumbles on kick returns than we used to, and that's going to continue because the kickoff is changing a little bit more so that there are going to be more kickoff returns. That is the goal. That is the stated goal of the NFL, is to return action to the special teams, so it's not just commercial break, nothing commercial break, right? And where that comes into Jammie Robinson's wheelhouse is that he's very good at identifying the football and punching it. So if special teams become something that Jammie Robinson does for the Kansas City Chiefs on a fairly regular basis, and I think it could be, right? I think Jammie Robinson could be sniping one of those bottom of the roster type roles for the Chiefs, and you see it all the time. I mean, how often is it that your team gets to the end of the year without injuries? So, I think he's going to find himself on the active roster for the Kansas City Chiefs at some point this year, and special teams will be where he shines. And that could be good for the Chiefs because of his proclivities, because he is maybe not fast, but he's quick. He's very aggressive, and he does punch the football. I don't think, again, that this is a player who can start. I think that this is a player that if he finds himself starting, you're in a little bit of trouble. Again, if we go back up to those measurables that he has, one thing I did not talk about but was mentioned later by Zierlein is that arm length. This is going to take a second, sorry. Sub 30-inch arms, a reach disadvantage, whereas Christian Roland Wallace has 32.5-inch arms. He has 29 and 29 sub 30-inch arms, 29.625. That is 5/8, I guess, inch arms, and that plays against him on defense, trying to stop the ball from getting to the wide receiver. But if he's there to make the tackle, that is the next best thing. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There are 2 playlists and a video on the screen right now that YouTube thinks you will enjoy about the Kansas City Chiefs. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.